Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 23rd chapter, titled Devahuti's Lamentation, text number 49. Patim sa pravrajishyantam tada lakshyoshati bahihi smayamana viklavena hridayena viduyata. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. When she saw her husband about to leave home, she smiled externally, but at heart she was agitated and distressed. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila. Kardama Muni finished his household affairs quickly by his mystic power. The building of the castle in the air, traveling all over the universe with his wife, in the company of beautiful girls, and begetting of children were finished, and now, according to his promise to leave home for his real concern of spiritual realization, after impregnating his wife, he was about to go away. Seeing her husband about to leave, Devahuti was very disturbed, but to satisfy her husband, she was smiling. The example of Kardama Muni should be understood very clearly. A person whose main concern is Krishna consciousness, even if he is entrapped in household life, should always be ready to leave household enticement as soon as possible. In the sense the Bhaktivedanta purport.
So Kardama Muni, in the last several verses we have seen that Kardama Muni was practically acting like a materialistic householder in terms of indulging in sexual relationship with Devahuti, using his mystic powers. He used his mystic powers, created an aerial mansion which could travel as per one's wish, and in this aerial mansion, then he also rejuvenated Devahuti's body, and with 1,000 maid servants to help her, and then with the entire entourage, he went to various heavenly planets, special gardens which are meant for this kind of enjoyment. He visited Mount Meru and several other of these heavenly gardens, and then finally he engaged in sexual relationship with her, and finally he impregnated her. He took 9 different forms to satisfy the ninefold passion of Devahuti, which was aroused because of the environment that he had created by his mystic power. All those environment sexually excited her, and her passion, her full passion of a woman is 9 times that of a man, as Prabhupada explained yesterday in the purport, was aroused, and to satisfy that, Kardama Muni had to take 9 different forms and satisfy her, and he discharged semen, and 9 daughters were born out of that. The very next day, by his mystic power, on the same day, immediately afterwards, on the same day, Devahuti gave birth to 9 female children, and all charming in every limb and fragrant with the scent of red lotus flower. So basically, Kardama Muni used all his mystic power to fulfill his duty to impregnate Devahuti, because Kardama Muni was commanded from the higher authority in order to create progeny. He was also commanded to do this, and accordingly he engaged in this kind of a relationship. So in the course of this, elaborate description has been given of how, what is the extent of this sexual enjoyment that both experienced, so much so that 100 autumns passed by on the bed which was supposed to be an excellent bed that increased sexual desires, and could not realize how time was passing. While the couple who eagerly longed for sexual pleasure were thus enjoying themselves by virtue of mystic powers, 100 autumns passed by like a brief span of time. So all these things, Kardama Muni let himself into this experience. He, being a great Muni, in the process of executing his duty as a householder, he did it perfectly. And then he came out of it also. Now he wants to come out of it. This is the benefit of executing the orders as per the will of the Lord. If somebody is executing the order of the Lord, then it may involve being a householder to create progeny. It may involve handling money. Because these are all normally the same Bhagavatam talks about Maya of women, Maya of money, Maya of followership. Right? So, these three things are considered to be the personification of Maya in this material world. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim. Kavitam va. Kavitam. Praise. So, these are the enemies in this material world for a Vaishnava who wants to transcend this Maya. This Maya is another world of experience for the spirit soul. The spirit soul is Kshetrajna, is a knower of this field. This entire material world is a field of activities. In this field of activities, everything is identified pleasure, identified relationship, everything is identified. Not your own. Because your spiritual body cannot come into the material world. Your spiritual body, your own body can only function in the spiritual atmosphere. So therefore you have to forget your spiritual body and you have to identify yourself with the body, material body. And then experience everything in all the kinds of rasas. Because the nature of the soul is rasa. The nature of the soul is rasa. The soul has to experience all kinds of personal rasa. There are unlimited personal rasa. Personal rasa means personal pleasures. So it comes into this material world, in the Kshetra and Kshetrajna. The entire activities are going on in the Kshetra. And Kshetrajna is the spirit soul. He is a person. And that's what we are. What we think we are now is all our identified self. What we see others are their identified selves. So this is a completely an identified world. World of identified identity, identified desires, identified activities, identified pleasures. Now, to come out of this, you need Lord's mercy. It's very difficult to come out of it. But now Kardama Muni, just see, after having completely absorbed himself into this enjoyment, he was ready to walk out. When she saw her husband about to leave home, she smiled externally, but at heart she was agitated and distressed. He just tried to, walk. How can that detachment happen? This is the question. How can that detachment happen? It is only by the Lord's mercy. Because he was entangled in it by the order of the Lord. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says, I am sex life according to regulative principles. One does not get entangled. The entire phenomena of sex in this material world is created as a very basic, fundamental, essential element of existence, material existence. So that procreation has to happen. The world has to happen. Our entire, every body is a result of sexual relationship in this material world. So how fundamental it is, you can see. Though as spiritualists we are expected to shun away from this phenomena, which we discussed yesterday. Without brahmacharya, there is no question of realizing that I am spirit. I am Brahman. One will be entangled in this material world without brahmacharya. And that brahmacharya, under that brahmacharya, includes household life under the order of the Lord. Just see here. How Kardama Muni it can also be construed as if under the order of the Lord, if the person is engaged in household, then at that time his experience is completely like anybody else's experience. But after duty is over, he is out of it. So that insurance or that protection is given to any devotee who wants to execute his duty on the order of his guru. In the material world, to execute the order of the guru, one may have to do whatever is required. Many times it will look like a very ordinary people's behavior. Just like Arjuna was fighting the battle of Kurukshetra. It is definitely not understandable for anyone. How is this anything to do with God? Violence, killing people. How is this anything to do with God? How is giving the kingdom back to the Pandavas anything to do with God? It is all about material kingdom, material ruling, material power. The fundamental fight between in the Mahabharata is on the kingdom. So how that has anything to do with, and fighting for that, killing for that, it cannot be spiritual. How can it be spiritual? The understanding is so narrow. Yes, what was the will of the Lord? That made it spiritual. Does not matter. It was about the kingdom. But what was the will of the Lord regarding the kingdom? According to the will of the Lord said, I have decided this war should happen. Finish. Now you are insulated. The entire Bhagavad Gita was spoken to Arjuna on this basis of detached action. Surrender to me. Do what I say. Don't think what is pleasing to you. So entire thing about what is fruitive activities. Fruitive activity. Bhagavad Gita is basically teaching about regulated sense enjoyment, no sense enjoyment, first level duty, and after that completely taking up Krishna's desire and acting. So therefore, to take up the order of the spiritual master, devotees are not afraid of going out into the material world and preaching Krishna consciousness. Because Prabhupada and Krishna will insulate us, will protect us. That we should know. Otherwise, if you don't know this principle, one will always, sometimes devotees ask, so much we hear about class, this, that, all these things, karmi association, asat sangha, tyaga, and then every day we are sent out into the asat sangha. It contradicts. If you stick to that principle of asat sangha tyaga, then we should all be sitting only in our temples. We should not be going out. We should not be seeing karmis' faces. We should be only here, isn't it? Whereas the pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, what is his instruction? Go out and preach. Just like what was instruction of Krishna to Arjuna, go fight, kill. Out into the material world. Let the world think that you are after property and all those things. Let the world think. This is all immaterial, I have decided. So ultimately, the supreme will of the Lord, when somebody is carrying out the will of the Lord, the will of the spiritual master, the order of the spiritual master, and if it is correctly understood as the order of the spiritual master, then there is no question of any contamination. One will remain transcendental. One can become transcendental at any point of time, getting detached from all these things. But while involved in it, he'll be involved in it like any materialistic man. Because if you don't involve, then you cannot. While you are engaging in fighting, when Arjuna is fighting the battlefield, then he has to be like a Kshatriya, he has to have the spirit of a Kshatriya, he has to take the role of a Kshatriya, he has to feel the anger, to kill his enemies. Unless all those emotions are there, he couldn't have won the war. But that did not entangle him, rather, that liberated him. It became a devotional service. So these are some of the wonderful lessons that we see after all this. Suddenly Kardama Muni, he is living. Now what is the meaning of this? How could he live like that? When he was enjoying for 100 autumns, the material world you enjoy, when you get the taste, you can't leave and come. You have to be forced. When something is not tasty in this world, it is very easy to live. When something is extremely tasty for your senses, for your mind, you cannot live so easily. Just like you can see small habits we cannot live. Our small sense habits which gives pleasure to the senses we cannot live. How Kardama Muni left? So we have to dovetail our senses as per the directions and instructions of the Lord. Then one can become free from getting entangled. When we are in this material world, we are serving the Lord. In another way, if you see, devotional service implies it is the order of the Lord, which is coming through the spiritual master. There is no devotion service without the shelter of the spiritual master. The order of the Lord is very important. We cannot concoct our own thing and then serve the Lord. This is extremely important. Because that is a protection for us. So when we come to the lotus feet of the spiritual master, he gives us a direction how we should live our life. So there is an order. How we should conduct ourselves, what we should do with our body, our mind, what service, how we should execute. All these things are given. All of them have the sanctity of the umbrella of the spiritual master. Only then that is called devotional service. Anything you create in your mind that, I want to please Krishna, that becomes not devotion service, a shadow devotion. It's an imitation. Krishna will wait for such a devotee to come to the platform of actually doing devotion service or doing actual devotional service, which is always under the order of the spiritual master. For various reasons. We have no right, we have no purity to actually think of pleasing Krishna directly. If at all any devotion service that we do, if it is pleasing Krishna, it is because yasya prasadat bhagavat prasadat, you are pleased your spiritual master, and therefore Krishna is pleased. Krishna does not need anything. Krishna does not need our pleasure, our giving him pleasure. Just like we say, bhakti means giving pleasure to Krishna. The tendency is to think that my mind, how I need pleasure. So if somebody gives me pleasure, then I love him. But Krishna is not like that. Krishna does not need pleasure. He is an ocean of pleasure. He is Atma Rama, he is completely self-sufficient, self-satisfied in all his requirements. So then when you chant Hare Krishna, why is he pleased? Why is he pleased? He is pleased because he wants to be pleased. He is pleased because he wants to be pleased. For whose sake? For our sake. He wants, the devotee wants to please him. Therefore he says, I will be pleased. Otherwise, he has no need for any pleasing. He has no need for pleasure. So if at all the Lord is anytime pleased with the devotee, you have to understand that he is graciously being pleased with my service. He is showing grace, therefore he is pleased. Not because he needs to be pleased. If he needs to be pleased, then what is it? Then he is like any ordinary person, no? He is waiting. Oh, who will all call my name? Who will all chant my name? It looks very ordinary person, no? Is it not? So much weakness you have for your name. Somebody chants your name, then you're pleased. You're waiting, hungry. Who's chanting my name? How can he be God? So the Lord, to please his devotees, he comes into that mood to be pleased. And that happens under the direction of, because we are chanting Hare Krishna 16 rounds in the order of Srila Prabhupada. Your chanting name of the Lord is pleasing to the Lord. You should understand it's not a phenomenal pleasing. He is graciously being pleased to favor us, because when he is pleased by our act, then we get bhakti, we get pleasure, we get constitutional pleasure. To give us an opportunity for bhakti, which is our constitutional food. Serving the Lord, taking pleasure to please the Lord is my food. Atma's constitutional food, not sense gratification. Just like we heard yesterday, just before Rath Yatra, the reading from Prabhupada's 10th canto. So sense gratification, the principle is the same. But that is not sense gratification. That is an internal potency of the Lord. Lord wishes to give a chance for the devotees to please his senses. So he is wanting to get pleased. In the material world, you need to be pleased. In the material world, you need food, otherwise you cannot survive. In the material world, a man needs a woman. Prabhupada explains in Krishna's Rasa dance, he says, Krishna owns everything. Every jiva is his. So why? That is the reason why it is not lusty activities. Out of his graciousness, he gives an opportunity to engage in a rasa with his bhaktas. He doesn't, to give the devotees an opportunity, a loving relationship, and that he likes. That he likes. So the sense gratification in the spiritual world is not a phenomenal sense gratification. It's not a, in phenomena means if you're hungry, you're hungry. Your system is hungry. There is no voluntariness there. It's a phenomenon. When Krishna becomes hungry, it is not a phenomenon. When the deity becomes hungry, it's not a phenomenon. It is a result of a relationship with the devotees. Hey, you have not offered me. The devotee feels, oh, I didn't offer to the Lord, he is hungry. And it's a reality. That reality is another reality. That is what is said, the internal potency of the Lord. So, centered around all this, the center of all this is, we can see how sanctified is or how powerful is working under the order of the Lord. It is so crucial. It is so crucial. That makes everything sanctified. Every activity that we do with our body in this material world, in this identified world, becomes spiritual, gets an absolute status in the eyes of the Lord when it is executed under the order of the spiritual master, order of Krishna, coming through the spiritual master. And therefore, this is a very beautiful example that Kardama Muni, how anybody who is so much involved in the most powerful illusion. What is the most powerful illusion in this material world? The most powerful illusion is conjugal love, conjugal relationship. It is a pleasure, it is a brain pleasure. The body is created, the mind, body, everything, material energy, material yantra is created to completely floor you down with so much of illusion as we discussed yesterday. The mind plays a very big role in sexual relationships. The maya of conjugal relationship is in the mind, not in the body. It is in the mind. And that excitement, that thing in the mind is supported by the brain, the chemical. Everything is so well designed by the Lord. The brain produces that kind of excitement, that kind of a pleasure that one is unable to, and then unable to disconnect from that. One gets addicted to it. A person who spent 100 autumns on the bed, the next day he has to say, okay, I am living. These are all the examples. These are all the things that are the lessons coming out of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. When we hear these various verses of how much Maya they were in, all along, you start thinking, why this is there in Bhagavatam? This kind of description. But this is a reality. This is how the world is created. The world is designed. Body is created. Body is designed. One cannot play with this yantra. This yantra has got a potential of putting and living it into complete illusion of illusory pleasure. It's got the capacity. And as we discussed yesterday, we have to keep away. We have to intelligently deal with this force of the body. We have to intelligently deal with the force of the body. To intelligently deal with the sexual force in this body, the most important factor is the mind. It is not anything else. It is the mind. The mind is the biggest contributor. The amplification by the mind, the desiring of the mind, etc. The whole phenomena it is. And we have to keep away from activating our mind in that direction. If we activate our mind in that direction, there is no question of coming out of it. It's an experiential well. Physical well is there. In the same way, there is an experiential well. You fall into a well, you cannot come out. So it's an experiential well. You have to spiral in. You have to go in. So intelligent person, as we discussed yesterday, when he walks, he knows there is a well. He doesn't walk over it, goes around it. In the same way, there are rules of brahmacharya where you go around it. You know that it's experiential. Well, I should respect the laws of the Lord. Like gravity will act if I walk over the well, I will go inside. In the same way, it's experiential well. There are rules of brahmacharya. I should respect these rules as respecting the powerful laws of material nature which is created by God Himself. Challenging that is challenging God Himself. So it is not about only physical do's and don'ts of brahmacharya. The most important do's and don'ts of brahmacharya are in the mind. That is where you succeed, because that is where all the force is. And if we handle the mind, and which is the easiest way to handle the mind, keep away from it, absorb in devotional service. Nobody is telling you take opposite sex in your mind and now you have to defeat it. Take the bull by the horns and defeat it. So very difficult. This is the task given to a brahmachari. Who said that? This is all concoction. This is jnanic path. Jnanis do that. Our path is not at all that. Our path is to absorb our mind in the higher taste of devotion service of the Lord. Avoid this, come here. Avoid that, come here. Avoid that, come here. Then we intel. Not that it is illusory. One will get the full knowledge about how it is illusion when you are absorbed in devotion service. Where there is sun, darkness will disappear. It is not that, okay, now I have avoided opposite sex, so forever I will have to fear that. No. When there is sunlight, there is no darkness at all to fear. So, the entire path of Krishna consciousness is go towards the sunlight. Don't go on, tampering with darkness. Don't go on making adjustment in darkness. If you make adjustment in darkness, with darkness, you will only create another darkness. It will not bring you into light. Krishna consciousness, engagement. Krishna consciousness is the light. Hearing Krishna consciousness is light. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Pada Sevanam, Dasyam, Atma Nivedanam. This is light. So absorb our mind in that, then it becomes very easy to tackle our past. One may say, no, I have got so many anarthas in my mind due to the past and all those things. Now, all those things will be pushed out. It takes time. By simply positive absorption in Krishna consciousness, these things will be pushed out. It's a question of time, because this is very powerful. Devotion service is very, very powerful. It can push out all those things. And when you forget something, you have forgotten. It doesn't bother you anymore, isn't it? As long as that memory is there, it haunts you. When you forget something, take anything. Take anything. As long as you don't forget it, it will go on eating you. Isn't it? Once you forget it, it is not eating you anymore. So by Lord's mercy, you will forget this aspect from your life. You become free from that. One becomes free from this haunting by this ghost of opposite sex. Any questions? जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।